This is a good spot to take a look and do the autopsy on the Ducks season, and not just that final game, but what this season meant, the progression of the Ducks under Dan Lanning, and to do the self-evaluation of what was this season, not just the final game, but the entirety of this season. What did you learn from it, and where do they go from here?
Yeah, this team has gone through a lot from week one to where they were, and I think what you saw was the evolution starting of Lanning as an experienced coach, right? The first 3 years now 3 complete years under Lanning, like, I think people need to remember that. This was only year 3.
And not just year 3 at Oregon, it's his year 3 as a head coach.
Now, we saw early on they came out of the gate and with expectations through the roof. Look, it was slow out of the gate. And I don't think anybody would have, after that Boise State game, said you're looking back on a year that ended 13-1 and undefeated in conference play and, the Big Ten champions. Like that, because of the way that it started. You saw over the course of the year, Oregon shored up some things. You saw a team that got better over the course of the year and survived what is a gauntlet, right? 8 games without a bye, right? Going through an entirely new conference where I think it doesn't get enough credence with all the conference reshuffling, is that even though coaches leave, you still have books on familiarity of personnel, teams, style of play. They usually don't change sweepingly from one coach to another, right? Because a lot of those guys are still on a roster. Well, Oregon came into a brand new conference and they had to learn everything from scratch, right? From unfamiliarity of, travel when you go on the road to, those are small things, right? That don't affect you on the field, but they went through 13-0 unscathed. That's a good year.
Yeah.
That is a really good year. I think where the lump is going to be at, or the bump in the road for Oregon is, look, this was the number 1 overall seed in a playoff that's been widely criticized. Like when Nick Saban is saying things like, if I'm an Oregon fan, I'd be in my mom's basement, firing off, how we got screwed by the playoff committee. When Nick Saban is saying things like that, there's going to be a really hard look at what the playoff is going to look like moving forward. But the reality of it is, and this is something that was consistent with Lanning throughout the preparation for Ohio State, is if you're going to win, you're going to beat good teams.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to have to get past a team like that at some point. And whether it's now or whether it's later, you were going to have to get past that buzzsaw that was Ohio State. They didn't do it, right? And now it becomes every coach that has gotten over the hump has addressed whatever it is that bugaboo for this year. Last year, that bugaboo was Washington, right? I mean, you can look at this season and you can say, if Ohio State or Penn State win the national title, you went 13-1 and you beat the national champ.
Yeah.
At some point during the season. Well, how do you do it when it matters the most, right? And that's what all of these coaches are looking for. And you look at a guy like Kirby Smart, right? He had to go through this with Alabama. All right, if I can get him once, how do I get him again?
Yes.
And how do I get over that hump? And when the stakes are even higher, that's why you got to look at it and say, this is a 3rd year under Dan Lanning. The roster is going to turn over. It'll look a lot different. Guys like Jordan James, Derek Harmon, Tez Johnson all declaring for the draft today.
Dillon Gabriel.
Well, yeah, but no, those 3 just declared today for the draft. Like Dillon Gabriel's going to be gone. Jordan Birch is going to be gone. Like Jabbar Muhammad. There's going to be a lot of new faces that are coming in. But this is where you're going to start seeing Lanning's recruits come in, because I think that's something that people also need to. Those that have criticized the way that Oregon has built this team through a portal, well, he's only had to recruit high school kids up until this point. Now you're starting to see his guys are going to start cycling through, ready to play.
When you see them turn into upperclassmen.
And there will be a lot of portal guys in there as well. But this roster has been built and has started to stack recruiting classes to where, all right, now it's get to the playoff, win a playoff game. The reality of this season, though, for everybody that is disappointed or somebody that wants to take victory laps on it for falling short of the national title, they went 13-0 in Big Ten play. Like that is,
and it's pretty clear that the Big Ten was the best conference in the country this year after seeing what the SEC didn't do in bowl season.
And it's not like they didn't play any of those teams because 2 of the 4 that are remaining, they were on that schedule at some point
and beat them.
Now, did they fall short of the ultimate goal and what these
Yes.
guys were not afraid to talk about this year, which was a national championship? Absolutely, they did. This season ended with a massive thud, and I don't think that that's anything that Lanning or any Oregon player would disagree with. But it was a great third-year building block where I think every year we've seen it start to escalate a little bit more for Dan Lanning and his staff.
There's been like a level of growth, and we talked about this on Thursday or Friday. The only coach that has done it in the college football title era of that we're currently kind of not even currently in, because this one's different, but the playoff era was Bob Stoops.
Yeah,
who
which
did
was
it in year two
in a 2-team playoff too, right?
So it is interesting to see where this is going to go. The question I think that I have is, you did just mention basically the core of the team is gone. When you're talking about the biggest name, like you're going to lose both your tackles.
Yep.
You're gonna lose your best pass rushers with the exception of Mateo.
Yeah. Well, Tatum Tuioti, Mateo Uiagalelei will be back. Amari Washington. Well, and look, who the hell knows with the transfer portal too, right?
And that's what I was just going to get to. Is like, what does this look like in the next version? And the Ducks have caught lightning in a bottle in their last two quarterbacks, which is the most important position in all of sports. That quarterback spot. Is it in-house? Do they go to the portal? And I think that's an interesting thing to kind of see what comes out of this.
And right now, I think it is going to be in-house. I mean, whatever in-house looks like, right? Is in-house
because they've
Austin
recruited.
Novosad? Is it Dante Moore, who was committed to Oregon, goes to UCLA,
Back
says
to Oregon.
nope, sits for a year, redshirts for a year, which you want to talk about the world of NIL where guys are just chasing
That's uncommon.
and going for it. He's like, all right, I went through it. I got beaten to the ground. Now I want to learn, develop, grow. And so Dante Moore sitting there. Austin Novosad is behind him. Luka Moga was a 4-star recruit. Keely Smith Jr. was there and practicing with the team during bowl preparations. And look, they lost one, to the portal. Was it Sagapatelli?
Darren Sagapotulele.
Sagapotulele. Yep. He goes and he re-enters the portal. Look, there's people that are crushing the kid. This is like, I won't do that, because if you make a mistake and you realize it quickly, like, nope, this isn't the place for me. That's why the portal exists. Yeah. Go. That's fine. And there was the quote from ESPN that was attributed to him and said that he didn't feel like he was, a main focus for them. If that's how you feel, good on you.
Go be where the main focus.
Yeah. Go do that. Go find somewhere where you can play early. But it told him he didn't feel like he was going to be a guy who's going to play early.
Look, I'll say the cautionary tale here is that Malachi Nelson did the exact same thing at USC and then went to Boise State.
Yeah.
And then he left Boise State and now he just transferred to UTEP.
Yeah.
So,
but that is
understand the things that are out there for you.
I'm not going to sit there and just be like, yeah, what? The system may be broken in the NCAA and the transfer portal. There's nothing they can do about that.
No.
But if a guy doesn't want to be there, what do you want? What do you want to hold him
honestly,
hostage?
Yeah, that's the best part about the transfer portal to me is that it's not good for either one of you if somebody doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think there is value. And look, my co-host on the program podcast, Colin, he tells a really good story this week about, Mike Bellotti essentially telling him, no, you're not going home. You're not. And there are valuable lessons you can learn in going through that struggle. And I think you absolutely 100% can. No doubt about it. But if you have a guy who's in a week is like, I don't want to be here, then don't.
Let him go.
Then don't.
Let him go.
Right?
That's an easy one. It's pretty
because
simple.
they can become a cancer just as quick as they can become a guy who turns into a valuable piece for you and works through some stuff. So, the building has to continue, and that's the thing. You mentioned there's a lot of key pieces from this Oregon team that are going to be gone. I think one guy to keep an eye on is what Tosh Lupoi said the week of the Rose Bowl, and this could be a massive development because it's a position group that we had our questions about heading into this year. They played very well as a unit, but are going to be taking some massive losses. Without Jeffrey Bassa and potentially Bryce Betcher, that linebacking core looks a lot different. But if Bryce Betcher can get that fifth year,
let's say that's going to go to a ruling, right?
Yeah, in the NCAA, there was right after Lapoy said that, there was a report that came out that the NCAA just may allow guys to play 5 years no matter what. Which, whoa, no way! But if he gets a 5th year and he's back on the roster next year, that alleviates a lot of the stresses because that dude became a dude for Oregon this year.
And the whole idea of the NCAA, we've seen this now. They're just going to roll over and show their belly when it comes to lawsuits.
Yeah,
because
they're
they're
a good boy.
I mean, why spend money going to court getting your butt handed to you?
Yep.